how hard it is to find a really good dentist. And so I would make the long trip from Washington all the way back up to Amherst. And not only did I enjoy the friendship and the professional relationship with this dentist, but he also was, in my mind, a terrific progressive liberal. And you could find that out very quickly by going into his waiting room and seeing the magazines for his patients. Well, one of those magazines was an Utne Reader, and there was a column by Barbara Ehrenreich, which I borrowed, still have it. And that was the first time I had read a serious examination of the foibles of drug testing. Barbara is one of this country's most progressive and constructive social commentators. Barbara's on Noble's board of directors. She came on in 1996. Her latest book, Blood Rights, Origins and History of Passions of War, has been called brilliant by the New York Review of Books and fascinating by Newsweek. A collection of her essays, The Worst Years of Our Lives, Irreverent Notes from a Decade of Greed, was described by the New York Times as elegant, trenchant, savagely angry, morally outraged, and outrageously funny. She is also the author of Fear of Falling, The Inner Life of Middle Class, which was nominated for the National Book Critics Award in 1989, The Snarling Citizen, I enjoyed quite a bit, The Hearts of Men, American Dreams, and The Flight from Commitment. Other books include The American Health Empire, Power, Profits, and Politics, with John Ehrenreich, Witches, Midwives, Nurses, and a History of Women Healers, and for her own good, 150 years of the expert advice to women with Deidre English. Barbara Ehrenreich was a regular columnist for The Guardian from 1991 to 1995 and has written for Time magazine since 1990. Her articles, reviews, essays, and humor have appeared in a range of publications, including the New York Times Magazine, the Washington Post Magazine, Ms., Esquire, the Atlantic Monthly, Harper's Nation, New Republic, Social Policy, Mirabella, and many newspapers throughout this world. She has been the recipient of numerous grants, including the Ford Foundation Award for Humanistic Perspectives on Contemporary Society in 1982, a Guggenheim Fellowship in 87 and 88, a grant for research and writing for the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. She shared the National Magazine Award for Excellence in Reporting in 1980. She is widely known as a public speaker and as a frequent radio and television talk show guest. She has lectured on hundreds of college campuses in the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia. She's appeared on numerous talk shows, such as Today's Show, Good Morning America, Nightline, Crossfire, Phil Donahue, and a host of others. We're very pleased and honored to have her today as our first speaker. And I'm certainly very honored that she joined with the other Normal board members in 1996 at the request of Dr. Grinspoon to help Normal raise its profile and help end many of the misguided policies that are wrought from the war on marijuana. Barbara Ehrenreich.
Thanks, Alan, and very nice introduction, but you should return that Utne Reader. I should explain first, if there's any incoherence in what I have to say today, blame it on drugs, a mixture of Sudafed and NyQuil. That's America's favorite combination. One brings you up. Huh? No, this is... Anyway, Alan talked about the fact that you have to spend so much time in your life dealing with bodily fluids, urine in particular. This is not historically the first time when there has been a big fascination with urine. Up until the 19th century, physicians were the ones who were fascinated with urine. And they believed just by looking at it, they would just hold it up to the light in the flask, and they could tell by the color or whether there any cloudiness or anything. They could come up with a whole diagnosis. They knew everything, they had to about that illness from studying the urine. Today, it is the corporate executive class which carries on that tradition of fascination with urine and belief in the predictive powers of urine. As you know, I'm sure 80% of large employers in this country today insist on testing all their job applicants' urine, or occasionally their hair or their blood. And they're, in a sense, using it also diagnostically. You can, to look for that little flaw that will rule you out. You could be the best qualified applicant, of course, for the job in all other ways, but experience, skill, enthusiasm, all those things can be totally trumped by P in the way our economy is now organized. Now, I want to talk about drug testing in the workplace and then put it a little bit in the context of other workers' rights issues. And I should explain a little bit about how I got interested in this. And it was, my interest starts from very recently, about 2 years ago, a little less than that. I undertook an unusual journalistic project. I was irritated at how there's so much discussion about how people who have been on welfare can just go out into the labor market, make a lot of money, to take care of themselves, everything will be all right. Once you get a job, everything is all right. So my journalistic experiment was to to simulate that experience, really. Though without the small children that most people coming off of welfare, of course, have. And I went into low-wage jobs, just taking jobs out of the help wanted ads in the newspaper, and working in different jobs, worked in about 5 of them now, and for a month at a time, noticing, keeping a record and seeing if I could actually make enough money to support myself, one person, of course, in relatively very cheap housing too. So that's put me out in the workforce, and this, of course, is a shock for a freelancer. Freelancer, nobody tests our urine. Nobody, you don't even have to wear clothes to go to work. It's the ideal life. So I have been totally pampered, privileged with this ability to work in my own home. So it was a big shock to enter the workforce. In my case, this was low-wage workforces. One of the things that struck me odd, was right away, was that the fascination with the urine of job applications and the possible drug taking, recreational drug taking with job applicants was not matched by the slightest concern for any other aspect of the job applicant's life or the worker's life. In fact, they will be, you can easily get hired at $6 or $7 an hour, even though on wages like that, you will be unable to observe the most elementary proprieties like living indoors and showering before you get to work. But they don't care. That the only one aspect of your life outside of the workplace matters, and that is the use of illegal drugs. Now, the oddest thing of all about the whole drug testing thing, and I think many of us, subscribe to the idea that we live in the most rational kind of economic system there is. Capitalism has a reputation for being very rational and so on. Is that drug testing does not work. 80% of large firms do it. It doesn't work in their own terms. And I'm very thankful for this information from a report recently released by the ACLU called Drug Testing, a Bad Investment. I think everybody aware of this pamphlet? It's excellent, yeah. Dale has it. It summarizes dozens of academic studies over the years to show that drug testing does not produce the effects that are claimed for it. It's heavily advertised to employers on the basis it will lower absenteeism, improve safety, cut job turnover, all sorts of things like that. And these studies show it does not do those things. Does not do what it is supposed to do. Of course, this should be no surprise to normal people. I'll leave it at that. The tests, of course, mainly detect marijuana, which lingers in the body far longer than other drugs. The labs are often alarmingly inaccurate. I'm sure you will hear more about these things today, in both the false positive and false negative directions. In addition, for what it's worth, drug users have this sort of like an arms race between drug users now and the the drug testing.